Today we are going to talk about a very special book. It's called Festivals at the Jaipur Court. We all know festivals are around the corner, and this year it will perhaps be a little different. So we thought we could just talk about it today through books. Good evening.
Good evening.
I think we had a technical glitch, so for a moment I was a bit worried.
Yes,
But
I was too. But we are
so, how are you today? Sunday?
good, good.
And is
Yeah,
this the library? Is this your library that you were talking about?
absolutely. I've got the Western art history section, and then at the back, I've got all the Indian books. So you see, my
Wow.
intellectual landscape is divided into two bits. Where I have Western art history and the Indian voices. So I
Yes,
stand.
and that's why I think I cannot ever get enough of talking to you. So I always want to hear you speak, say something, tell us something new, and things like that. So I feel I'm a forever student in front of you. So I feel very privileged to do this actually, to be able to interview you today.
A pleasure. Always has been to talk to you as well.
So I just gave a little introduction about why the Jaipur courts or how the Jaipur courts were the center of constant public interaction. And I just introduced about the subject, the book, and let me introduce. I know all of you who are here right now obviously know her, but in very brief because it's important. Um, Professor Vibhuti Sachdev is an architect, author, dean of Sushant School of Architecture. She has done quite a bit. But one most interesting part, I think, for me is also that she's taught art history at University of Sussex. She's been a consultant for several conservation projects, and I think cultural history is something she has worked on very extensively. And having said that, we a very warm welcome to you once again. And yeah, I've got a lot of questions, but I don't think we'll have enough time. So we'll cover as much as possible and perhaps have a subsequent session thereafter on Facebook or other things. I'm sure people will join us there as well. So the first question, as I'm just going to show the book once again. This is the book that we're talking about. And yeah, so please tell us something about the festivals at the Jaipur Court, and why did you choose festivals for your book?
Okay, so let me start with why festivals and why this book and why. So I've done extensive research on traditional knowledge systems, especially in architecture. VastuVidya
Hmm.
is my subject,
Yeah.
and I've worked extensively on Jaipur as well, on the history of Jaipur, planning of Jaipur, architecture of Jaipur,
Hmm.
and of course you can't escape the material culture of Jaipur, which is so.
Hmm.
And there are two, three things that were playing on my mind while I was in Sussex,
Hmm.
and we were talking about these things with our colleagues. How actually festivals or celebration,
Hmm.
any celebration, is a kind of a
Hmm.
for heightened existence. That when you celebrate, you wear good clothes, eat good food, you listen to good music. Everything gets to a kind of the bar is raised. Suddenly,
Yeah.
everything becomes super clean, perfect. So,
Yeah.
which means that the artifacts that surround the material culture that surrounds festivals are of
Hmm.
excellent quality, because
Hmm.
that's what it is about. It's about celebration of excellence as well, and that brings joyfulness in people.
Hmm.
And so I wanted to study closely this material because this is the hallmark of our excellence in terms of
Hmm.
craftsmanship, in terms of skills. And and festivals is something I wanted to study because our calendar is dotted with festival. As I say that there are 9 festivals to a week. So
Hmm.
imagine the problem that, the nation has every time they draw a holiday list. How do
Yeah.
you, fit in all the festivals in a year? It's impossible. Thank God I'm not in that job, but so you just go from festival to festival and the year just whizzes past, and you could do that. But also to understand time and to understand the seasons was very important to me after I worked on VastuVidya. Our calendar is very different from the Gregorian calendar. Our
Yes.
calendar is a lunar calendar, and many cultures, many soul believing cultures work with lunar calendar. So
Yes.
whether Islam and or even Protestantism, and of course Hinduism, and in our so to speak Hindu calendar, the year starts in Chaitmas, which is spring, and what
Yeah.
wonderful start the year in spring. And here we are using Gregorian calendar, starting our year in this dreary winter in January. It just doesn't make sense. So when you look at the
I
indigenous
think the
calendar,
video is
you
stuck.
suddenly come in sync with the I'm not stuck. I can see you and hear you.
Yeah, that's fine now. It was just buffering in the middle, but now it's fine.
Yeah. You're getting slightly pixelated.
Yes, I
Yeah, you're
think.
clear now.
But yeah, now this is better. So I
So
think I missed a significant part from the April, the
that
spring, where the Hindu calendar starts. Yeah.
our Indian calendar starts in the spring, and then I wanted to understand, why are festivals called around Tithis, for example. What is Ganesh Chaturthi? Why is Vasant Panchami? All these Tithis,
Mm.
and what are the stories around these festivals? Why are these
Hmm.
festivals celebrated? They are, and why
Hmm.
do we have certain kinds of food, certain kinds of dress? Why do we wear green in Tej? Why do we wear
Yeah.
red during Gangor and all that? And so I thought, okay, let me work on and there wasn't any book on festivals. So part of the reason why I write the books I write is that basically, I mean, it's catering to myself. If there isn't a book in the market for what I want to explore, I think, okay, I'll write it then. So
Yeah.
wasn't any book a book on festivals which will tell me, what is the sequence, how is the year divided, what are the rituals, what are the stories
Hmm.
around festivals. And I
Hmm.
also want to take an example of, I wanted to work with excellent material culture, and of course the Jaipur court offers.
Yeah.
Um, and the reason why I wanted to work with museum culture is like, because I mean, if I show you this image, this is a famous
Hmm.
Govind Dev. Can you see it?
Okay.
So this is Govind Dev Mandir in Jaipur, and here you see
Yes.
this Govind Dev, who's
Hmm.
it's on page 70,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
Govind Dev Ji is a museum-worthy piece. He's a
Hmm.
16th century title, black, and
Wow.
but
Yes.
you never. And he's covered in garlands and dress, and
Huh.
he's got tilak and jewelry and ornaments, everything, and you never and you never see him without it, and you see in the museum similar pieces, 16th 17th century Krishna, Chola bronzes, and you think, without the context, how do you engage with these pieces?
Yeah.
Because these
Hmm.
museum pieces have a context to them. They are
Hmm.
part of festivals, they are part of stories, they are part of
Hmm.
rituals, and suddenly you
Hmm.
pluck them out of the context, plunk them in a museum in a kind of neutral shade pedestal with a label. That's
Hmm.
not entire story. It is a story of an
Yeah.
encounter with an artifact, but it is a complete story. So
Yeah.
I to explore these, museum-worthy pieces in their context, and so size the museum collection in a way that it situates them in a cultural context. So that was why I chose Jaipur Museum collection, because I had worked in Jaipur and this was material that was very accessible to me. So I thought, and of course, all these rituals and festivals I could study closely and over time, and it was a wonderful journey. And all the three things that understanding the festival calendar, re-looking at the museum collection, and understanding our material was the driving force for this book. So I use a variety of material. I use jewelers and textiles and paintings and all sorts of things. I also worked with the Panditji who was there to understand the rituals. So I used to kind of shadow him everywhere to see what he's doing. And, it was great fun, great fun.
So let us go a little bit about little more in detail about the research, the approach, because there are a lot of people who might be interested in writing on a lot of subjects which are still not available in books so far. And just in museums only, just when we are talking about museums only, museum collections, and very important integral part of museums is museum security also. So we've been working on bringing out a lot of museum collection, and you know about this. This is the first in the series. We are trying to create new content around museums. So if anybody wants to get into this sphere, they want to actually write a book. For them, could you just give us a little bit of insight on how you went about the research and what was the approach to this?
So I think when you work on the museum collections, or indeed private collections, which can be very diverse, both in terms of the artifacts themselves and also the historical period can range from early period 19th century. So I would suggest we've done enough catalogs. I think okay, some museums may not even have catalogs yet, but the ones that do, I think would benefit from thematic slices across collections to see to make it more interesting, accessible, to make it more relevant for the user. And I think those stories, when you weave stories around objects, they somehow become alive and not and they kind of reach out to you in special ways. So I think and there's so many stories to be told around objects that then they become then you want to kind of visit them again and again and interweave it with your own story, and then it becomes then you make friends with the museum, kind of keep going back, friends, these objects. Wonderful, wonderful who's in National Museum, and she's a gorgeous woman looking at her mirror, and she's so beautiful, the jewelry, and going back because of the kind of high. These museum pieces are also, very excellent in terms of craftsmanship, in tailing, in terms of, so they are very special to work with. And I think you can find interesting thematic slices to make depending on your own concern. But I would also say that, use stories from oral tradition, from literary texts, from from people around you as well, to give it a contemporary edge. So and there is so much in our literature about these music section. So basically, what it is to join many dots. The dots are all there. You have to kind of figure out, okay, so this is a piece with that dot, and suddenly you have a whole story around it. Really interesting.
So there is a lag, and then I
Yeah.
was trying to listen to every
So
word that you were saying,
can you hear
and
me?
that's why I was just waiting. Okay, now this is better.
Better.
Okay, so the next question, as I was about to introduce, was about uh, the variety of dresses. You just mentioned that there is red in Gangor and the color green in Tej. But while I was going through the book, I noted down a lot other things. For example, there is also for men specifically, there is the white jama for the Maharaja on Sharad Purnima. There is Angrakha in Margpali, the Chundri Safa and Saleti Parcha Achkan, and the Churidar Pajama for Deepavali, and so on. So, could you tell us a little bit about the dresses and the significance of these dresses and the colors according to the festivals?
So generally, I mean, even weekly, the colors are associated with the Navagrahas, and each day has an associated color. But also, each festival has an associated color because festivals are associated with seasons. And the general rule is that we wear the colors of the season, of the landscape. So in
Okay.
Basant Panchami, wears yellow. In Sharad
Yeah.
Purnima, because the moon is the brightest moon. Have you ever seen Sharad
Right.
Purnima moon? It's like having a kind of big,
Mm.
tube light or something, and in the sky,
Yeah.
and so white. And so you wear white, and during Tej everything is green, and it's monsoon, it's rainy, so you wear green, and red, of
Mm.
course, is a sacred color. But and what is interesting is, of course, in Diwali, which is Amavasya, and it's a
Mm.
dark night with stars. So
Mm.
traditionally in Jaipur court, people wore deep indigo or black with gota, and to
Mm.
reflect the fireworks and dark night. And
Mm-hmm.
but men used to dress up more interestingly than they do today. So you've got these lovely men's frocks. See, this isn't that
Yeah.
gorgeous? So
Yes.
this is white muslin jama with gold neck and tie, and it's just gorgeous. And you've got Pratap Singh wearing it.
Yes.
You've got this lovely, and so you can see the ambience. You have the
Mm.
bright white moon. Sharad Purnima
Mm.
just over, bright white moon, and you've got everybody wearing white, and then you eat
Mm.
white food. You eat koi, and then you were
Ah.
awake. You do a night vigil. You're awake the whole night, and it's a very
Mm.
special, because it's the onset of winter, and it's a
Mm.
very special night. So it's believed that if you keep the water outside, and the moon
Mm.
rays make it very healing
Mm.
and special. So there are
Okay.
lots of these clothes are always to reflect or echo what the colors of the
Mm.
seasons are.
Okay, but when it comes to Deepavali, isn't black considered to be a very inauspicious color in our history and things? And then also this specifically this photograph,
Yeah.
the black dress that Gopal Devji is wearing.
Yeah, I mean, if black were inauspicious, Krishna wouldn't be Krishna. I mean, how
Yeah.
can no color is inauspicious? In fact, Amavasya, this the
Uh,
dark night, and
uh,
this is actually a gorgeous. This is a kind of a large collage,
hmm.
which I found rolled up in the museum, and as we started opening it, it's kind of a life. So now it's displayed in the museum, and this is what I found was that there were a lot of paintings where Krishna and Radha wore the
Hmm.
colors of the festival.
Okay.
So that there are paintings where Krishna is wearing white dress, and then he's wearing, this is a Diwali dress, of course, because it's black, and with such, fine white lines. It's very contemporary as well.
Yeah.
It's, and there is Radha as well, and during Holi, of course, what I find is that Holi must be the most difficult
Yeah.
to paint, because you've got all these people wearing such fine clothes and jewelry, and suddenly you have to put all color on it, because after
Yes.
all it's gets smeared with color, and
Yeah.
and one of my favorite paintings is where Krishna is there's again a painting of the altar, painting of Govind Dev temple, and Radha is holding a pichkari, this one.
Oh, which page number is it?
So that's 157.
Yeah.
And it's a picture of Holi, and it's very interesting because all these paintings are depiction of Govind, and so there are festivals going on where Krishna is instead of the flute, he's holding a pichkari aiming at Radha, and Radha's also holding a pichkari aiming at Krishna. And I find that really, really creative way of using, using the idols and depicting the idols, and also you've got these, pichkaris in the palace, which are these brass pichkaris,
Yeah.
beautiful
Oh,
pichkaris, better than the plastic ones we buy these days, but fantastic artifacts.
yeah. So now this we've talked about Diwali, but can we talk a little bit about the festivals which were just coming up? For example, we are currently going through autumn, Sharad, and the Ashwin, I think Ashwin. During this time, what are the festivals which are celebrated there, and how are they celebrated? Like, I think Devi is the Kul Devi for a lot of families, Rajput families. So could you elaborate a bit on that? Um, because for the
So,
lack of time, we'll have to just limit ourselves to only the Ashwin Mass.
any yeah we are in the the most busiest of the year in terms of festivals. This is the busiest time because you've got Durga Puja, and then you've got Dussehra, and
Hmm.
and you've got and then you've got Diwali, was Sharad Purnima, and then you've got Diwali, and of course Karwa Chauth, Bhai Dooj,
Hmm.
all these festivals cramped into it. And of course, this is a change of season, so you have to visualize the year being punctuated by the the spring Navratri and the winter Navratri. And the spring
Hmm.
Navratri are the holy time, and the winter Navratri is the Shara time. And so this is where this is. It shifts from summer to winter in the winter Navratri, and in the spring Navratri, you're moving into. So your body is going through kind of a thumb, because you're going from one temperature to another, and that's why you have all these Navratri food which are gentle on your system, and it's gluten free. Imagine. So festivals cluster around these 2 points of Navratri. That's how the whole calendar is structured.
Hmm.
And you've got Sheila Mata in Amer, and also the Durga Shaptashati. You've got this
Hmm.
wonderful manuscript. This is a gorgeous painting
Yeah,
of the
one of my favorites.
Yes, isn't it? I mean, it must resonate with you because of, also because you know these festivals,
Yeah.
and this is a gorgeous painting where, the gods are saying, okay, we can't kill Mahishasur, please, please,
Mm.
please, can you help? And they give Durga their arms, and so
Yeah.
each thing is,
Mm.
their weapons, and so she's empowered by the
Mm.
gods, and off she goes to kill Mahishasur.
Mm.
So, and this is a very well, painted um, Durga part. But also, I mean, I
Yes.
think in terms of paintings, we are so blessed to have such creative expressions. I think, to have paintings or depicting seasons, Baramasas, to have paintings
Yes.
depicting Ragamalas, so which
Yes.
actually cross boundaries. So how do you
Mm.
depict music? How do you depict a season?
Mm.
And you get all the emotions, the feeling, what people are wearing, what they are
Mm.
doing into a painting in the most excellent way. And these
Mm.
are long, and you've got examples of these in many courts. I mean, Jodhpur has
Mm.
them as well.
Yeah. Yes. So thank you for that. We will have to stop here, but I actually have, I think, five more questions with me right now, but that is for another date. I am sure all of our listeners have actually enjoyed, and I've seen several comments, so I'm sure they have. And if there are any questions, I think they will let me know and I'll pass it down to you. Perhaps we will take it up in the next session as well. And we might have a different format the next time. Thank you very much, ma'am, for making my Sunday such a wonderful evening, giving me a very wonderful Sunday evening. And thank you once again, ma'am.
Thank you, Trisha. Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Have a nice. Bye. Bye.
You too, ma'am.